Edward R. Murrow, the legendary newsman of CBS, was noted for his distinguished reporting and analysis of world affairs and his imaginative leadership as the first director of the United States Information Agency. Mr. Murrow's personal library and papers are housed in Fletcher's Edward R. Murrow Center for Public Diplomacy, the Murrow Room, which is truly one of the landmarks of this institution, and we use it a lot. The school annually recognizes a United States Foreign Service officer for excellence in the conduct of public diplomacy. This year's recipient is Gloria Berbena. I will now read the Murrow Award citation. Gloria Berbena is the Public Affairs Officer at the U.S. Interest Section in Havana, has made an outstanding contribution to broadening outreach to ordinary Cubans. She reinvigorated the mission's Democracy Promotion Initiative and revitalized core public diplomacy programs to engage a broad spectrum of Cuban society. As Public Affairs Counselor, Gloria Berbena modernized and expanded the mission's 2 Internet resource centers, including providing 40,000 free hours of high-speed Internet access to hundreds of members of Cuban civil society, journalists, bloggers, and other participants in public discussion. She retooled the mission's support to a network of 200 independent libraries, including a plan to distribute e-readers that can hold an entire library of Spanish-language books, magazines, and newspapers. Employing used shipping containers, she built a distance learning center that offers internet-based courses on the fundamentals of journalism, information technology, leadership development, journalism ethics, and investigative journalism. She created a virtual newsroom that allows access to editorial mentorship with US-based journalists. By never forgetting the importance of personal engagement, Gloria Berbena has made the Interest Section a vital part of Havana's cultural and intellectual scene via song, art, and photography contests, and literary evenings linking up-and-coming talent with world-class artists and performers. In the best traditions of Edward R. Murrow in the United States Foreign Service, Gloria Berbena has displayed the core values of critical analysis and commitment to the free exchange of ideas. Gloria, please come forward.
Thank you, Dean Bosworth, and the graduating class of 2013. It is a tremendous privilege to be here, and thank you for inviting me to be part of your special day. It is a huge honor for me to be recognized with the Edward R. Murrow Award for Excellence in Public Diplomacy. I have been a public diplomacy practitioner and a member of the U.S. Foreign Service for almost 24 years, starting out in Thailand and serving subsequently in Rome, Naples, Athens, Washington, D.C., and most recently concluding a 3-year tour of duty in Havana, Cuba. Each posting has been fascinating, but I have to say, my time in Cuba was especially unique. In so many ways, arriving in Havana was like stepping back in time, and not just because of all the 1950 Chevys on the road. I was one of 51 U.S. diplomats accredited to the U.S. Interest Section in Havana. Our small group followed generations of diplomats, certain that we would see major change on our watch. Each of us very quickly came face to face with a very different reality. Living and working in Havana as U.S. diplomats meant stepping back into the Cold War, because while the wall came down in Berlin, the Cold War continued to play out in Cuba. We were all reminded on a daily basis of the complex political relationship and highly emotional history shared by the U.S. and Cuba. As head of the public diplomacy unit at the U.S. Interest Section, as has been noted, my job was to try to build bridges between the Cuban and American people and support the policy dialogue between our two governments. The intergovernmental conversation was not easy. In fact, it was more often difficult than not. Often we felt like we were taking one step forward and two steps back. All of us learned that working our relationship with Cuba required patience, a long perspective, a certain hopeful optimism, and above all, perseverance. On the other hand, working with the Cuban people was a real joy, and for me, a professional experience of a lifetime. In an extremely constrained environment, we worked to support Cuban civil society, providing free, uncensored internet access to the Cuban public, and supporting independent journalists and independent librarians in their efforts to tell their stories and share information in their communities. We reached out to the Cuban cultural world, connecting with artists, dancers, musicians, and of course, the greatest connection of them all, baseball. When there was no traction in the political dialogue, somehow we found common ground in baseball diamonds and jazz rhythms. Throughout, we found Cubans who felt warmly about the American people and who were hungry to connect with the United States. Cubans who recognized how culturally close our two societies are, and Cubans impatient to get beyond historical impediments. Every day, our public diplomacy work is about moving our relationships forward in a positive, personal way. In the end, it's all about building personal relationships and trust. Going the famous last 3 feet of diplomacy, to quote Edward R. Murrow. I know some of you graduating this weekend are considering careers in public diplomacy, or in the NGO world, or in some other public service sphere, here or abroad. It's not the choice for everybody. You won't get rich, the hours can be long, progress often is difficult to measure, and it can sometimes be dangerous. And I take a moment here to pay homage to Ambassador Chris Stevens, who died this year in Benghazi, where he was opening a cultural center, and to Anne Smedinghoff, a young public diplomacy officer who was killed while she was delivering books to children. They were engaged in very personal diplomacy, working those last 3 feet, and we honor their public service. But despite the hardships and sometimes dangerous aspects of the public service life, it also represents an opportunity to make a real difference in the world, to build understanding and connection and community. It's also incredibly interesting and a lot of fun, and that's an irresistible combination. We need good, smart, dedicated people like you to be in public service. So please, think about it. Thank you very much.
As I was listening to Gloria talk about what she did in Havana, Cuba, some of you will recognize the relevance of my wondering whether or not she might be available for early assignment to Pyongyang. That's really revolutionary stuff. In recognition of excellence in academic achievement, the Fletcher School awards several prizes at each commencement. The decision on the winners is always difficult and is made by the Fletcher faculty. The first of these awards is the Robert B. Stewart Prize in honor of a former dean, made possible by the Fletcher School alumni. It is awarded each year by the faculty to the student who, at the end of the first year, best exemplifies high academic achievement combined with participation in the activities of the school and promotion of its character as an academic community. The faculty, after deliberation, has voted to award the Stewart Prize this year to Katarina Fedosova. Thank you. The next prize is in honor of Edmund Gullion, former dean of the Fletcher School. This prize is also made possible by the Fletcher School alumni. It is awarded to the student who, at the end of the second year, best exemplifies high academic achievement combined with participation in the activities of the school and the promotion of its character and community. This year, the faculty has voted to award the Gullion Prize to two students, Emily Turner Simone and Kirk Christian Bansack. The next prize is in honor of Leo Gross, a giant in the field of international law, who taught at the Fletcher School for 40 years and was noted as a master of both the theory and the practice of international law. The Leo Gross Prize recognizes a graduating student who has excelled in law-related studies at the Fletcher School. The recipient of the Leo Gross Law Prize is selected by the Fletcher faculty who teach in our International Law Division. I would ask Professor of International Law Ian Johnstone to come forward and present the prize.
Leo Gross was indeed a giant of international law, and he helped to put Fletcher on the map. He had a PhD from University of Vienna and a law degree from Harvard, which he got in 1931, and then he worked at the League of Nations for many years before joining the Fletcher faculty in 1941. His work was at the intersection of law and politics, at the intersection of theory and practice, and so for that reason it's fitting that a student who's receiving the prize this year also works in his research and studies at that intersection. The winner of the Leo Gross Prize, chosen by the law faculty, is Arun Sukumar Mohan. Arun is already back in India. Pursuing his brilliant career, he's taken up a position on the editorial board of The Hindu, which is one of India's leading newspapers. He asked me to accept the award on his behalf and to promise that I send it to him, which I will do.
Our final annual prize, being bestowed for the second time this year, is the Peter Ackerman Award for the Outstanding Doctoral Dissertation. The doctoral award is named after Dr. Peter Ackerman, Fletcher class of 1969, who served as 15 years as chair of the Fletcher Board and 11 years as a trustee of Tufts University, providing extraordinary service and leadership to the school. The Ackerman Award is given to a PhD graduate who, in the judgment of the faculty, has written an outstanding dissertation demonstrating scholarly merit and originality, and provides a contribution to the field and to society. Courtney Richardson, whose doctoral dissertation is titled "The Chinese Mirror Has Two Faces: Understanding China's United Nations Peacekeeping Participation," is this year's recipient of the Peter Ackerman Award. I ask Dr. Richardson to come forward and accept the award.